Welcome to CleantechTV. We're joined today by Simon Corbell, the ACT Minister for Energy. Simon, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Giles.
Look, you must be delighted that AuSES 2010 has been held in Canberra. You've announced possibly the most ambitious solar program in Australia. Do you think it's really possible that Canberra may emerge as the solar capital of Australia?
Yes, I think it's eminently possible. We've already seen a significant level of community support for our existing feed-in tariff scheme. Just approximately 5 megawatts of capacity already installed, a market penetration rate of about 2.5%. That's very significant even in a small jurisdiction. And because we are going to be the first state or territory to legislate for both medium and large-scale industrial generation capacity under our feed-in tariff legislation, there's certainly strong interest in the ACT as a location, and I think we will see the largest installations to date being deployed here in the ACT because of that legislative reform.
Look, there has been a lot of focus on the costs of solar and the wisdom of the feed-in tariffs in the press and in the political arena. How do you respond to those, to that sort of thinking?
Well, I think we need more facts and less myths about feed-in tariffs, and I'm getting a bit fed up with feed-in tariffs being used as the whipping boy for concerns about rising electricity costs. The fact is feed-in tariffs are contributing, even in New South Wales, only about 3% to the total average annual household electricity bill when it comes to their electricity cost. And here in the ACT, we anticipate that even with our scheme fully deployed, that is a full 240 megawatts of electricity generating capacity deployed. The cost per week per household is about $4 a week. So it's a very modest cost in the day-to-day scheme of household costs. And I think it's very, very important that we recognise that making the transition to a renewable energy future means having instruments in place, policy settings in place that leverage private investment in renewable energy generation, and a feed-in tariff is one of the most effective ways of leveraging that private sector investment, that private financing that's needed to make the transition to a low carbon economy. So whilst I know that people are concerned about elements of feed-in tariff, particularly the issue about the cost for micro generation, I think it is fair to say that a feed-in tariff is still one of the most reliable policy mechanisms we have available to us to actually get deployment on the ground, and that's what we need. And we've certainly seen a very protracted and difficult process associated with other mechanisms such as grant schemes, which are yet to really yield any concrete results at all.
So when do you expect the first projects to actually come into operation?
There's actually two stages to this scheme. The first is the deployment of large-scale rooftop solar up to 200 kilowatts. I'll introduce changes to the existing legislation later this year. That'll take effect from the 1st of July next year. And then from the 1st of July next year, also following some additional legislation, we'll conduct the first of the reverse auctions for 40 megawatts of large-scale generation. That's above 200 kilowatts generating capacity. So I expect that rooftop solar is going to happen very quickly, and we'll certainly see projects being deployed on rooftops, large rooftops across the ACT next year. And in relation to industrial scale generation, the 40 megawatt allocation through the reverse auction, I would expect that to be allocated next year, work to start obviously by the successful bidders next year, and hopefully we will see plants on the ground in 2012.
And for that large-scale solar, do you have a particular preference about whether it be solar PV or solar thermal, or are you technology agnostic, as it were?
We're certainly agnostic on that issue. It's really going to be up to bidders. The reverse auction process is designed to make sure the territory can control its costs, control cost to consumers, get the best possible price for the best amount of renewable energy generation. And ultimately, we anticipate our scheme is able to deliver about 25% of the ACT's average daily usage in terms of energy. So it is a very significant target that we're setting in relation to the expanded feed-in tariff scheme. but we are technology agnostic and we'll be open to both large-scale single plants as well as distributed smaller plants, PV, solar thermal, whatever it may be. We're certainly open to that. The feed-in tariff does notionally also capture wind, but the constraints in terms of the territory's geography really, I'm yet to see the economics of wind stack up in the territory because of that.
So, what will be your message to the conference, or what do you hope to see emerge after the 3 days?
Well, I hope that this conference proves to be a rallying point for a strong and renewed voice from the solar sector in Australia. It's absolutely essential that we're able to tackle some of the myths that are being perpetuated in mainstream media about the cost of renewable energy. We need to be able to send a clear message that that's not the case and that the shift to renewable energy is absolutely essential, that we need to see deployment on the ground and we need to see strong mechanisms to achieve that. We need support through feed-in tariff schemes. We need a price on carbon. These are the key policy settings to drive the deployment of renewable energy for Australia.